All right. Hey, how's everybody? It is good to be here. You know what? I taught a class last night, and that is exactly how they greeted me when I walked into the room. It was just a standing ovation. It was awesome. Thanks. I'll be here all week. Whatever. Good to be here. My only claim to fame is that I used to be Ryan Davis before Ryan Davis was Ryan Davis. So you guys like Ryan? Okay, well, you'll like me. But I used to come up and introduce people in sales school. I'm here for one reason. Put away your notes. And that is to tell you just a story about my first summer. Isn't that exciting? Now, I was here 36 years before you guys were even zygotes. I was here doing what you're doing. So I've been here a long time. But I just want to tell you about my first summer. In fact, just the beginning of my first summer. And I think this will help you. All right? You ready? Just got to stay awake. All right? That's why we had you stand up, so you could kind of like, yay, next speaker. Woo, I need a break. It's all right. All right. First summer. I am with a group from Kansas. Are there any Kansans here? There's 5 of you. Good job. I was recruited really late in the season. Anybody recruited late? Yeah. So I was just receiving my little packet of sales talks as I was getting in the car to drive to Nashville. So I was seriously behind in sales school. Anybody feel a little behind the curve in terms of learning? Yes. So I was just like, I don't remember sales school. I remember feeling pressure and stress and not being able to learn my stuff as fast as everybody else because they'd been recruited earlier. But it was kind of a blur. And I got through the week, and at the end of the week, we always had a huge ceremony announcing roommates and where the organization was going to go. Yeah? Have you guys already done that? Not yet. Okay, so we got in a room together, and there was a couple hundred people, and we're all standing around there going, all right, and no matter what state they said, the group from Kansas was going to be like, yeah, anything. We were just gone crazy. Just get us out of here. So anyway, so we're all there announcing names. They're like, you 3 ladies, guess what? All of your organization, you're going to upstate New York. And we went, yeah. We just started tearing our clothes and throwing hats. We're just like, come on, bring it. And they said, you ladies, you 3 are roommates. And they're like, yay, we're roommates. You guys are going to Syracuse. They're like, Syracuse, we've heard of that, yay. And they're hugging. Then you 3 guys, you're roommates, and they're like, yay, you're going to go to Buffalo. And people are going, right on, Buffalo. So they designated all the roommates and where everybody was going. And then it came down, and there were 3 of us left, and I was one of them. I'm like, hey, I'm Lee. Good to see you. Dave, nice to meet you. Where are we going? They said, you're going to Malone. And that was the reaction. It's very quiet. We're like, yay. Thank you so much. So we got out a map and said, let's see, Malone. And it was a town, maybe 3,000, 5,000 people on the border of Canada. I mean, if I could bike across and go to Montreal. It was way up there. So we're like, all right, Malone, let's go. So we did the road trip, long drive, got there. And the first thing we did when we pulled into our HQ town was we found this it was like a welcome center, which was odd. But we went in, and they were, we just wanted to kind of get the lay of the land. And the guys, they had T-shirts out for sale, Malone souvenirs. And I'm just like, yeah, well, check this out. And it said, we're alone in Malone. I was like, thank you. Must have. So I got that. Anyway, so we get settled in, got our HQ all set up, good to go. And my first week, I don't wish you guys could have seen it. I was on foot, no bicycle yet. How many people on foot going to be doing that? That's great. Your legomobiles, as JT talked about yesterday. But I was walking, I went to the edge of town and then just started walking out into the countryside. And so I was walking like 8 miles a day, just like here we go. There's a house. I think I'll go there. And we didn't have these cool ergonomic backpacks with the double straps and the air conditioning pockets and everything like you guys have got. We just had I had kind of like a Boy Scout backpack, single strap, which I foolishly wore on just one side of my body the whole day because I had a preferred shoulder. So by the end of the week, I had developed kind of the Quasimodo look, the hunchback effect. So, and you'll see people around that are older. You'll be like, if you're in an airport or something, they're standing like this. You go, did you sell books back in 1970? And they're like, yeah, how did you know? Well, I just thought so. They're all like, chiropractors love them. But anyway, I was just out, and I would come home every day. And I came home, I brought one pair of tennis shoes, foolish, and they had blowouts, and it was hot that first week. I thought upstate New York would be nice and chill, kind of like it is outside today. It was 90 degrees, which was pretty warm for upstate New York. They called it a heat wave. And I didn't bring any sunscreen, so I was just getting baked, and my feet were gone, and I was sore, and I'd come home at night and just, wander upstairs. But good news, that first week, I was having fun with people, and they were purchasing items from me. So I was very excited. So I'd never had a 0 day. I was selling at least 2 or 3 customers a day. And so I managed, even though I butchered the sales talks, I managed to make the Paysetter report. So I made about $500, and I was horrible. I mean, I would literally come in at night, and I realized how badly I'd done with my sales talk. So I'd sit down, and just before falling asleep, I'd pull it out and go, okay, let me just read this. I didn't do that paragraph, didn't do that page. Intro, what? Didn't do any of that. It was awesome. And I'd mutated my approach. It was just like awful. So, good news though, people were buying because I was enjoying them and they liked me and I was kind of enthusiastic, And I remember just sitting there in houses. Have you ever given a speech and just gone blank? Where you're just like, so I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, I don't know what to say next. Let's just turn pages. Oh, here, math, story problems, So it was a rough week. But it gave me, I was kind of excited because I knew if I was that bad and I still made money, there was hope. Other piece of good news, I found a bicycle right at the end of that week. I was like, yes, Lord, a bicycle. Because I was going to have velocity the second week. The first week, it was just like, second week, velocity. Awesome. So I was fired up week 2. I changed my mentality a little bit, though, sadly, from let's have fun with people to now it's time to sell. So what happened to my sales? Yeah, I didn't, again, still managed to squeak out a few units that Monday, But it was harder because I was like, I'm a salesman now, which I wasn't, but I was kind of floundering through it. So I came home after riding a bike for the first time in years. I rode it for 12 hours that day. And has anybody not ridden a bike for a long time? And then you just say, you know what? I'm going to ride that bike for 12 hours today. Have you ever done that? Well, I'll tell you what it's like. It was, and you're picturing some kind of mountain bike or something that I got. This was a 10-speed. It only had about 6 speeds that worked. It was beat up. It had one of those little plastic seats that were kind of like wedgy, And so after 12 hours, I came home and I was like sore in a new place. So I'm like, get off of my bike. And I had sold a whopping 3 units that day for a total, yes. I did worse my second Monday than my first Monday. So what does that do for your confidence? Like, I'm getting worse at this. And then I'm also doing calculations. Well, let's see, I worked over almost 13 hours divided by $15 profit. So put my bike down, I go up the stairs, and we lived in a big, giant, upstairs apartment. We had 3 beds in there. There were 3 of us, Jim and Dave and I. And I remember I walked into the room, sunburned, tired, sweaty, didn't smell that great, sore butt. And I looked around and I said, one of the beds is made. that was odd. We don't make our beds. We're not courteous. What's wrong with this? And I looked over in the closet, and there were more coat hangers in the closet. I'm just like, oh, no. So I looked over on my bed, and you know what was on the bed? Right on the pillow was my Greatest Salesman in the World book that I'd been reading that morning. And I went over, and why is it propped up on my bed? And I opened it up, and inside on the cover, inside cover in ink, was a note from my former roommate. Yeah, from Jim. It said, "Dear," I'll give you the short version. "Dear guys, this sucks. I'm going home. See you at school, Jim." I was just like reading that, and then I'm like, "Dave," student manager, "what?" I'm like, "What's this?" And he's like, "I'll be right up." And so I hear him. He's downstairs making a sandwich. Boom, boom, boom. He comes running up the stairs. And you can see his wheels are turning. He's like, "Okay, I'm going to have to be a student leader now. I'm going to have to help this first year living with me." And I said, "Dave," and he said, "I made you a sandwich." I'm like, "Thank you." So he goes immediately into like why this is a great thing mode, and he's like, "Well, first we got to think of 3 positives." I'm like, and I'm telling you guys, I was negative. So I'm just like, we got more room for our clothes. He's like, okay. I said, the rent just went up. Man. He's going, okay, let me take it from here. So we were sitting on our beds facing each other. And he's like, okay, this is the lowest point of the summer, and things are going to get better from here. I mean, from this point forward, we got to go back and prove to people that this, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, awesome. You're awesome. But I believed him. I said, okay, Dave, I'm with you. And we went to sleep. Now, that night, a cold front came through. Okay? So it went from like 90 degrees during the day, pretty sunny, pretty warm, down to under 40. Remember where I am? Upstate cold fronts mean different things in different parts of the country. Canada has different cold fronts. So we wake up, and how many of you have started to wake up to the alarm going off? I mean, even before the alarm. Have you done that? Okay, some of you are starting to tune in. You're like, I don't even need an alarm. I'm just like, yeah, here we go. Well, suddenly the alarm's going off, and I'm like hitting stuff and whacking the lamp, and it's perfectly dark in the room. I think we set it for the wrong time. Dave's like, "What's good? What the?" And it was time. It was time to get up, but it was dark. So I heard on the window this sound, which is the sound of a cold, steady rain. So I went over to the window, I kind of flipped over in the bed and looked outside, and I went, wow, I have a bicycle. Help me. And I looked, and I thought, I'm going to get wet today. And it was true. It was cold. It was wet. We went to breakfast, and Dave is still trying to do his, I'm going to cheer you up. I can help you. He's like, I got $100, 100-unit pancakes. And I'm sitting there with an orange juice going. Right beside me, there's an empty place where Jim used to be. Yeah. I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was drawing my map. I'm going to work here. We didn't have cool iPads and stuff, which would have shorted in the rain anyway. But I was just drawing where I was going to ride that, and I was looking outside going, no, it's still. So we finished breakfast. I keep my bike at the breakfast spot, so I pull out my bike, and I'm under the little roof, the eave. So I'm kind of watching the water come off, and I'm doing. And Dave, he's going to get his car. He's got a car. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing this. I remember it vividly. I'm sitting on that seat, my butt's sore, and I'm going, and I'm seeing a big cloud. Wow, this is going to be bad. So that was a self-talk I developed in sales school. This is going to suck. So self-fulfilling, too. So Dave drives up in his car, and I'm going, hey, Dave, and he rolls down the window. He's like, hey, man, go get him. And I'm like, thanks, Dave. Appreciate you. Hey, is the heater working okay in there? He's like, well, let me check. Yeah, it's really working. I'm like, I thought so. Windshield wipers going. He's excited. Like, all right, Dave, you go kill him. He's, I will. He drives off. And I'm going. So I take off in the rain. And a few blocks, working my way toward the outskirts of town, I am absolutely drenched. Now you guys are going, what? Did you have an umbrella? No, difficult to ride a bike with an umbrella, first of all. Second, did you have a poncho or some sort of raincoat? No, wasn't that smart. What I brought for warmth, because I thought this was a summer job, when it's warm, I brought, and you have to kind of get a picture of this, a full-length rust color velour warm-up suit. You got it? That's velour. People are like, what's velour? Well, it's like velvet. Very popular back in that year. Very fashionable. So I'm riding through the rain, and I'm noticing that my velour is actually absorbing rainwater. So I'm putting on weight. I'm just like, oh, my. I'm just sloshing, and I'm hitting puddles. And when you're a little kid, it's fun to go through the, puddles on your bike because you put your legs out and go, yay! And then the water goes on your back and sprays you, and it's really fun. I was not having fun. And I was going up to houses. I remember I did not get in a house. I'm like, I don't know why I'm not getting houses. And what I had was a big mud slick in my hair, which was long and groovy, and then a stripe down my back, and I'd go up to houses and go, hi, Ms. Jones, I'm the one talking to, and she'd look at her couch, and then she'd look at me and go, mm-mm. And I go, that's okay, I could just show you right here. And then the door shut, I go, okay, well, have a nice day, and if you see me around, just honk and wave, and I'm a winner. And so I was driving, death. Freezing death. But Dave said, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. I'm like, Dave's a liar. Dave's a liar. So I'm going, I'd love to say I just got in some demos and everything warmed up. It did not. It was still cold. It stopped raining as hard, which was beautiful. But that afternoon, I was negotiating, again, in the countryside. I was out working on the shoulder of a road, and a truck came by. So I'm just doing my positive phrases like, I'm dying out here, I'm dying out here. I love Kansas, please take me back. Stuff like that to really get me motivated. And this guy gave me just a little courtesy honk. You know how people give you a little, just a little like, hey, I'm over here. So I was, snapped out of my reverie of positivity. And I was like, what? And when I looked over, my strap shifted quickly to my elbow, and my elbow is connected to my wrist, and my wrist connected to my, the handlebars. So I'm like, what? And I'm like, and I wipe out. Not a killer accident, but just enough of a wipeout. I'm lying on my back. My bike's over here. My book bag has opened, and it's kind of displayed the books on the side of a ditch. I'm just like feeling the gentle rain on my face. So I get up, and the guy's like, are you okay, dude? And I'm like, I'm putting my books back in slowly. I'm like, nothing to see here, move along. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm building my resume. Can't you tell? I'm an entrepreneur. So, no, I didn't say that. So I'm loading up, putting my bag in, and I noticed, my knee kind of stings. And I look down, and there is blood, not tons. This wasn't a terrible wreck. I wasn't going that fast, but just a little blood trickling down from my knee into my knee-high tube socks that I was wearing under my velour outfit. Very fashionable. So at that point, I think, you know what? I am tired of this, and so I started looking for not people. Instead of like, okay, where's my next prospect? I'm like, where can I not see people? Here's an area, and they had this house. So it was in a bad way. They had this house they were building, and they'd excavated part of it. So there was a big mound of dirt, and I thought, there are no people living there. I'm going to go there. So I rode over, and managers, do you get to this mental state sometimes, student leaders? Yeah, you do. Okay. And your first years are going, I'd never do that. And I said, yeah, you will. So I rode over my bike and put it down and just sat on a dirt pile and felt really sorry for myself and tried to suture my little wound. Please stop. Please stop. And I started thinking about my situation. Now, I don't recommend you stop. For 45 minutes at least, I sat and, I was blowing snot bubbles. I was thinking about all my friends back home. They're going to be going out that night, and I don't have any friends. And how much have I made this week? Oh, a lot less than last week. And I'm tired, and I'm sore, and I really don't like this. Now, and you're like, wow, this is a horrible story. Thanks for coming to sales school. Like, see ya. Go have a good summer. No. It does get better. What I did in sales school toward the end of the week is we had a big meeting, and they gave out these little cards that had a poem on them. I think it was probably nothing you'd read in your English lit classes, but it was called the Don't Quit poem. Yeah. So I had taken that card in sales school. I'd written a note to myself on the back side of that card. Okay? Now, here's what the note said when I wrote it in sales school, and I was all happy and like, yay, I love my life. I wrote, you wrote this note when you were rational. You're reading it because you've become irrational. The following people made fun of you, and I listed all my skeptics from back home. Yeah. So as I read that, I thought, what would it be like to go back and actually meet those people and have them your friends wouldn't do this, but some would have mocked me. They're like, oh, how was your summer? Yeah, show us your big check. But, it would have been horrible. So I was running that video. But here's the key. I wanted to show you a picture because some of you are like, how are you carrying this card? Well, I had brought, to complete my rain gear outfit, I had a hat. Now, some of you, you're wearing hats. They're cool. My hat was cool back then, not cool today. It was made of jeans, denim. And inside I'm going to show you a picture of it in just a second because I have a picture. It's amazing. Right in the top part of that hat was a zipper. There was a pocket, and that's where I put my secret weapon note to myself. All right? So it looks, Jeff, can you pull it up real quick? Yeah. There it is. How about that? So that's me with my shorter hair, and that is not a fashionable hat. And you can't see the zipper, but it's really important. I had a groovy mustache, and that's Kim, and we used to make out. All right, that's good. It's like, have a great summer. Okay. Forget that. That's over with. So I'm sitting there, dirt pile, unzip, read note, picture, going back home early, taking a bus all the way to Kansas. Woohoo! No. So I fold it up, put it back, zip it up, get back on my bike. Would be a great Southwestern story if the next 5 houses that night all bought, and it was a beautiful 100-unit day. It was not. However, the last house bought the entire A through Z My Fun with Words dictionary. 3 strong units. Yeah! So this family was like, I met the coolest family right when I needed it. Student leaders, how many of you have run it like God has placed a nice family right when you needed it because you kept working? Raise your hand, look around. It's true. There's some law that if you keep working, good things happen. And this family is like a light at the end of the tunnel. And it wasn't a train. Like, when I walked in, the mom's like, what are you wearing? I'm like, it's velour. And she's like, throw this in the dryer. So she starts assigning people, get out some leftovers, let's feed this kid. So I'm sitting there eating, and I was demoing, a cow is a large, heavy animal that eats green grass, turns it into white milk. Nobody knows for doing that. And they said, we don't even have kids. We'll buy it. And that is beautiful. And then Dad took my bike, put it in the back of his truck, and drove me a few miles back to my HQ. And I'm just like, what? Angelic chorus. It was a beautiful thing. And you will meet families like that right when you need them. I promise. okay? But here's what I did. I got so upset and frustrated with those tough days at the beginning, and I was thinking about quitting like my friend Jim. Here's what I was doing. It was like 1 or 2 bad days times 70 more. I'm in hell. That's the deal. It's going to be like this from here out. And I'm just going to tell you, these first few weeks, these are training weeks. And it's almost exactly, think about school. At the beginning of the semester or term, it usually starts off kind of easy in terms of degree of difficulty. And as the semester goes by, you got midterms. And then here at the end, remember, you got finals week and research papers. And it really gets much harder, right? Okay, exact same thing here this summer, except this, watch me, you got to catch this visual. It's this. First 3 weeks are finals. First 3 weeks are finals. That is your test. And right now, God, I'm so excited. I talk to him every day. God is designing a perfect final exam for all of you. Perfectly tailored to what you need to grow up. Yeah. So he right now is thinking to himself, he's up there going, let's see, Jason. He thinks too much of himself. I'll take care of that week 2, day 4. And so Jason's like, dum-de-dum, I love my life. And it's just, he's like, oh. And so Jason's like, why? And you can do that and cry and blow snot bubbles like me, or you can just go, this is part of my final exam. All right, let's go. And you can keep working. Does that make sense? I promise you're going to be tested the first few weeks. I promise. But if you keep working through it, the job doesn't get easier. You get stronger. You get better at it. But you've got to trust yourself with that. So 2 thoughts, and I'll wrap up. You're going to feel 2 emotions as you plow into this summer. 1, how many of you have played sports rather extensively? Okay, think of the sport that you're in, and I've had groups that are like, I'm in ping pong. I'm like, okay, well, think of most sports that you've been in. I know I just offended people. I don't care. I'm leaving. But think about this. I was a swimmer growing up, right? So if you work hard in your sport and then you've got a tournament or state or something coming up, you get through that, then you usually take some time off, right? Okay, after your off season, then you start training again. How does it feel when you're doing those wind sprints or suicides or you're running the court back and forth? You're just like dry heaving, Coach, no more. He's like, again. He blows the whistle. You're like, no. Remember that? And you came home and your muscles are shot. You're like, Mom, help me. Remember all that? Okay. Remember that feeling. You're going to pull emotional muscles next week. But you got to work. Why didn't you quit in sports? Because you knew the tournament is here. State is happening. I'm working toward this. So it pulls you through some of those pulled muscles. When I took 30 years off of swimming, I just wanted to taper. And I walked into an Olympic pool built near my house, and I was like, chlorine. Yeah, I'm going to join the Masters. I can do this. First workout, 2,000 yards, nothing to it. I came home and I'd pulled my lats, my rhomboids, my trapezius, poof, gone. Yeah, I was just screaming just like that. And when I got home, I couldn't brush my teeth. I was like, literally, I had my daughter. I said, Katie, come help your dad. She's like, what? I go, help me brush my teeth. I'm like, thank you. But I didn't quit because I knew it would get better. All right, you're going to pull your emotional muscles. Second, last thought. You're going to feel awkward. And some of you don't like that, especially all the perfectionists in the crowd. They're like, I don't like to be awkward. I like to get it just right. Well, you won't. So how many of you, let's switch. How many of you played musical instruments? There you go. Perfect. Think about your musical instrument when you first started playing it. Were you great at it right out of the block? No. I remember I was keyboards, So what did I learn? I said, I wanted to play some cool stuff, some Chopin or Liszt or something. Nope, you got to do these scales. So I'm like, da 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 dun 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 dun. Remember those? You're like, this sounds terrible. You're playing your clarinet. It's just boring, chromatic scale stuff, right? Well, so here's what we've done for you this week. We've taught you C major scales of selling. That's all. You just know C, no sharps, no flats. And then guess what? When you're barely through that, we're saying, okay, good luck. You get to go out and give 30 recitals a day. Enjoy. And you'll be like this. Okay, I'm in a house. Oh my gosh, I'm in a house. Dee 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 dee. Hold on. Dee 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 dee. Oh God. And you're sitting with a family. They're like, what is this? You're like, I know I can do this. But you will mess stuff up, you'll butcher it, you'll feel awkward, but it's okay. I embraced my awkwardness my first couple weeks. I just told them, hey, I'm bad at this. And they go, we noticed. And I had mutated the approach so badly. I'm so frustrated. I said, forget the sales school approach. I'm just going to make up my own. I remember going up to a house. I'm not joking. I went to a house, and I was so used to people interrupting me during the approach. The lady came out of the house. She's like, whatever you're selling, I'm not. And you know what I did? I didn't do the, oh, I'm sorry. I guess you haven't heard about it. I didn't do that. I went, up. I gave the timeout symbol to her. Do not write that down. I don't recommend it, but she was just like, what? She hadn't seen that before from a salesperson. She's like, what? And I said, well, listen, this is my first week, and I'm not very good. Can we just sit out here? I just need to practice on somebody. Just practice. She's like, okay. That's sometimes how I got in demos. Do not write that down. That is horrible. But when I came home at night, I read my talks, and each night I'd say, okay, that paragraph, I'm going to add that tomorrow. That paragraph, oh yeah, I remember that. I'm going to add that tomorrow. Till it became a talk, and then I got really good. So July 4, when I'm selling like the equivalent of like 13 or 14 solid Advantage sets and riding home on my bike, do you think my attitude was a little different? Yeah, I was like, oh, what dirt pile? I don't remember that. And I was just riding home. I had my little Southwestern tattoo. I'm a lifer. Yeah, I love my life. So it gets better if you work at it, okay? And when you have a tough time, just remember, we're to consider it. This is right out of James in the Bible. Consider it joy when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result so you can be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So I wish you well. I hope you've had a great week this week. And I get to turn things over to Dan Moore. You know Dan. Let's hear it for Dan over here.